This is the $10 million winner of Beast Games, the biggest game show in television history.
I got wired all the money and I think, oh my gosh, like, how do I make this last?
In this episode, Jeff shares how he's going to spend the $10 million.
Not like, hey, I just won $10 million and I'm off drinking Mai Tais in Fiji with my family. This is just the beginning of trying to find a cure or a treatment for our son.
Opens up about becoming famous overnight.
I don't like the word deserve. I'll say I earned it. I don't deserve it. I had way more luck than skill.
And explains his masterful strategy for winning Beast Games.
I looked down, I saw briefcases. I said it's 6.
Without further ado, this is Jeffrey Randall Allen.
Jeffrey Allen, 831 from the Beast Games, but more importantly, a husband and a father of 2.
I can't help but think about how much of a dream you're living. Everyone dreams about winning the lottery, and then everyone also dreams about fame in other people's eyes. And to come on the first season of what is already the biggest competition game show in the world, to win at a $10 million stake, and now that check has hit your bank account 1 week ago, what does it feel like? Does it feel as good as it's advertised?
It's wild. I think materially, it's not like I've gone out and bought a new car or anything fancy. But my life was truly transformed. Just from reconnecting with old friends or old colleagues to thousands of people direct messaging me, kind of congratulating me and just kind of sharing that they loved how I played the game. I was an inspiration. The support's been overwhelming. And also at the same time, like telling the world what I want to do with the money and how I want to help my son, is like, okay, like I won the games, but now the real games begin. The real journey begins. So it's awesome. I mean, like there's nothing about it that I'm complaining about, but it's definitely different.
How was the waiting period from winning the game to the 6 months of when the world finds out you win the game? What is life like during that period?
It's awesome. I remember my wife spoke with one of the producers, or spoke with Cruz, the kind of the CEO of MrBeast, and it's like, hey, like, she's like, what just happened? And Cruz said, nothing's happened. It happens in 6 months.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, the way I look at it is we planted the seed, we knew it was going to grow, but we had to wait 5 or 6 months for it to bloom. And it's weird because you think she was there. My oldest son was there. Like, we thought like we lived it all. It's different when it airs. It's different when everybody else sees it and feels it. I mean, like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. So the process is awesome to know what's going to happen and still be able to live life.
Yeah.
Normally.
I just want to give you a shout out because you were my friend in the show. And for me, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this core fear, or maybe they can't. Like, I kind of remember being in high school and I wasn't cool, or like I was cool, but people were too cool for me.
Yeah. And
for some reason, that insecurity from high school like carries over. And as my friends, I got 22nd place, as they go into the top 10 and someone wins, I kind of have this fear of like, oh, is Jeff gonna give me the time of day? Is our gauge, are they gonna pay attention to me? And dude, you've just been like, I said this on my story, but every conversation I have with you, you always say, I love you. You always make me feel acknowledged. You don't make it seem like you're better than anyone after winning $10 million. I mean, just going into this podcast, having all the audio problems, I'm like, oh, frick. Jeff is to prepare for a Ruck tomorrow, which we're going to talk about. And you're just so humble. You have such an important mission, and it means the world to me.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. No, I mean, and this is, as much as you wanted me here, I wanted to be here. It's one of these things where I promised you.
Yeah.
Like, we tried to make it work a couple times, so I'm just so glad it worked out, and thanks for making the trip here.
You keep your word, and you know something you and your wife do so well that I learned mostly from you in the game, but I noticed that your wife did it at the finale, is when you listen to people, you like stare at them and make them feel like they're the only person in the world. And I know this trait not only from my experience with you, but other people, as I've been filming these Beast Games podcasts, tell me this is how Jeff made me feel. And I wonder, do you think like that listening and contributed to winning the game?
For sure. I mean, I think, so my youngest son has a rare disease.
Yeah.
He's essentially nonverbal. I mean, he has some words that mom and dad can understand. So we have to concentrate on him to understand his needs. Like, what is he asking for? What does he want? Is he hurt? Is he hungry? So, I've always been interested in others. Like, I just love learning about other people. So that's easy for me to ask questions and learn. But with Lucas, he's taught me to really be present with people and try to understand what they're trying to tell me. And to your point, I think connecting with people certainly did not hurt me in Beast Games.
There were so many divine moments for me or you to make it as far as we did. Whereas, there's the self-elimination in the rows where there's no skill to that. You kind of have to get, I mean, you can try to get the person in front of you to delete themselves, but a lot of moments that were no skill, but then, or luck. And then I think though about like specific moments in your journey where you were on the team that dropped the ball, it gets overturned. Then Jeremy picks you in the helicopter. Then our monster truck wheel gets stuck on the bump. How much do you feel like, oh my gosh, I deserve this. I played such a good game. And how much do you feel like it was God or it was luck?
Yeah, I don't like the word deserve.
Yeah.
I'll say I earned it. I don't deserve it. But yeah, I had way more luck than skill. Everything from episode 1, it was Morgan 755 who eliminated our row.
Yeah.
We were one of the first rows to be eliminated. To episode 2, we got revived, which was like, I thought we were going home.
Yeah.
And episode 3, Chris flipping to sacrifice himself for me, 204, to Jeremy. And the monster truck was truly David versus Goliath. I mean, you saw your team was.
Oh my gosh.
Your team was so big.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason you should have lost the monster truck.
We shouldn't have. But, dude, when I think about it, I just feel like it was divine. Because I think about you and Gage being debatably the two most winning. I mean, you could say Mia was the second most winning, but you guys went the furthest with the biggest cash prizes. And you and Gage were not only on the opposing physical team with the monster truck situation, but you also both got picked by Jeremy.
Well, and that's the crazy thing is, I mean, like, I remember back to Jeremy picking us. And what everybody experienced in that episode was real. And probably even in person, it was like more uncomfortable. And again, I have a great relationship by faith. Jeremy was praying a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he was praying a long time. And it's crazy to like look back now and go, the two people he chose from the get are two people who ended up at the very end. And it's like, so yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where I do feel that my journey was divine to a degree. And it's like to look back at every single thing and how many coin flips I got and how many different things had to happen for me to get to where I was. And people had to play different roles and make different decisions. It's like, it's truly a miracle. Like when I talk to people that I won $10 million, I'm like, it's a miracle.
I just have prayed over and over again, just like Jeremy, I pray that God, would this money end up in the hands of someone it won't destroy? Because, I mean, during the game, everyone's throwing around those lottery statistics, which I don't know if they're real or not real, but they're like 50% of everyone who wins lottery goes bankrupt, and which I can't speak to that because that kind of sounds like hearsay, but it could be true.
I do think it is true. I think it's like 85% of people who win the lottery within X amount of years, I don't know how many it is, they're back to square one.
And so is that a fear of yours?
No. I think that money just magnifies who you are. So I'm very blessed to have a purpose with my son Lucas, and I'm also very blessed to have my wife who is as thrifty as you can get.
Yeah.
So she is super frugal, like meaning like it's like we want to be good stewards of this money, and we understand that like yes, I won, I earned it, but it's there's bigger things for us to use it on than buying a boat or a new car.
something I think about with the 10 million when I pray, God, let it be in someone's hands who it's not going to ruin them and they'll be able to handle it. I think about rare diseases, and like millions of dollars is unfathomable, especially for someone my age. But when you're trying to cure a rare disease, it's not that much money.
Yeah.
And so I really think that it was I honestly think if the top 60 put it to a vote who like would be best equipped to send the money, I always say I think it would have been you, because you have a mission that requires millions of dollars.
And I mean, it doesn't make for awesome TV afterward. Like, okay, it's not like I went out and bought a new home or a new car, but like it's one of these things. In the last episode, I remember looking at Jimmy and kind of going, "Hey, like you're gonna be a part of this." Like, and I think everybody in season 1 will be a part of this. Like, I think we're gonna get to a point where we find treatments for these kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's gonna be 3 years or 5 years or 7 years. It doesn't matter. It's gonna happen. And part of the legacy that Lucas and I want to leave is it's not just about Lucas getting better. It's about kids who are born a half a decade from now who can get diagnosed at birth and then have a treatment within a week and have a normal conversation like you and I. Like Lucas can't talk like you and I.
Yeah.
Lucas won't have a normal life like you or I. So I think just being a good steward of those funds could help. But the crazy thing is, to your point, like it's going to cost $30 million to really fund a treatment all the way through clinical trials.
Yeah.
But $10 million is a start.
It's a great start. Thank you for watching this episode of the podcast. It means the world to me how many people are tuning in and that my friends would come on the show. If you guys subscribe, like, or comment, then you create an opportunity for me to invest in high-quality guests like these guys and to make the show better for you and to make the best possible conversations. Please consider subscribing and enjoy the rest of this episode.
Let's go, Auzi.
Good job, Auzi.
One thing I want to touch on with the divine moments is the briefcase. Everyone online thinks that you're like this pro poker player. You read Twana like a book. She gave you some sort of cue and you picked 6. Is that how it went down?
Not fully. So yeah, the number 6 was speaking to me a ton in the days ahead. So all the way back to kind of the $1 million kind of money grab.
Yeah.
Where Twana was like the captain. She gave the number 2 key to Mikey, who gave the number 3 key to JC, and so on.
Yeah.
Patrick gave me the number 6 key. So then I was in the bunk number 6. And so then after the towers, we got into the top 6. And while we were in the bunk, I was saying a prayer that has 6 words in it. I study, I was born and raised Catholic. I go to Catholic Mass, but I also study Kabbalah. It was in the Hebrew month of Elul, which is the 6th month. There's other prayers I was saying where 6 kept popping up. And so if you watch the BTS with John Yushe and you see us, we're standing up on our platforms before we walk down. I looked down, I saw briefcases. I said, it's 6.
Wow. I mean, that alone makes it feel quite divine.
And then there's more to it. So when we get down there and Jimmy's detailing the game, he spins it, I think twice. One of the time he spins it, he goes, puts his hand down, it was on 6. Another time he spun it, he let it go right in front of me, it was 6. So like I've never had that much certainty in my life.
Wow.
So I was, when I put my blindfold on, I was in prayer, I was calm. And when I took it off, all I had to do was look to see if the briefcase was at number 6.
Wow. And so you were just looking for cues for her to dissuade you from 6.
Exactly. So 6 was my starting point.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of feel her out and see, I think I went to 3 different numbers. I immediately kind of nixed the ones on top. I said, hey, she wouldn't put them there. I think there was a number 1. I'm like, yeah, she wouldn't put it in 1 either. Let's look at number 5. Let's look at 6. And I think that was maybe 8 or 9. And I kind of concentrated on 5 or 6. And there was nothing that she showed me that made me go, it's not 6.
Yeah, because in the show they kind of hype it up to be 5, and then they make it look like you're just like but I'm going with 6. And so this kind of gives some background for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, like, again, I am trying to get a feel from her.
Yeah.
If I go here and then I go around and I come back and then like, does she change the way she's communicating with me?
And did you feel like she did?
No. I mean, I didn't. You know, I asked a more direct question for 5. I asked a more open-ended question for 6. Like, what do you want to tell me about 6? You know, and how she responded, like, what do you want to know about 6? That's kind of like, okay, that was interesting. So, like, I mean, like, there was nothing about 6 that made me think it wasn't there.
How do you feel for Twana?
Oh, I don't want to use the word heartbroken, but I was a little bit, it's gutted. I mean, like, I knew Twana from the first episode. We were right next to each other.
8:30 and 8:31.
Yeah, and I saw her, and I was all the way in the back. I was second to the end. And so, like, I just got to see her interact with people, and just, she was so respected. She was a great leader. She talked to everybody. And then I get to see her, obviously, in episode 2, where she gets elected to be the $1 million captain. And then keep going on. Anytime there's an opportunity for her to step up, she does. And people volunteer, she does. So, like, she is just an absolute rock star. And her and I were friends. Like, her and I were mutual, kind of had mutual respect for each other. We're kind of like the mom and dad. We were kind of like the old elder statesmen.
Yeah.
But fierce competitors. So, like, I wanted to go against her at the end. So when this happened, I didn't know what to say. I wanted to, like, thank her for the opportunity that, like, we got to battle it out. But I also wanted, like, I told her I loved her. And for me, you know, I mean, so I tell people I love them when I do. And love, a couple of definitions of love for me is, I want for you what you want for you. So when I love you, or, like, I no longer want from you, I want for you. So, like, when I see Twana and I tell her I love her, it's like, I want what you want. I truly do. So that's what I was trying to tell her in that moment. And I haven't told anybody this. I told my family. One of the biggest regrets I had from episode 10, after the games and before it aired, was I didn't remember giving a hug to Twana. I didn't remember going over to her and, you know, thanking her and telling her I loved her. I think I was just kind of out of body that I didn't remember doing it. So when I saw that, I was so glad that I was able to do it, because it's kind of been eating me up for months that I didn't have that moment with her.
Wow. I love that definition of love. There was a point in my life where I was like, I got to make a definition of love, because everyone says this word. And we all vaguely have an idea of what it means, but I think it's a good exercise to create it. So, wait, can you just repeat that one more time? Love is, or I'm going to repeat it. Love is, I want for you what you want for you.
Yeah.
And dude, that's what you've showed me, because I've been trying to do this podcast. It's coming at the busiest time of your life, and you've created that opportunity for me. And I also want to say, on the topic of that missed hug for Twana, I remember when we lost the monster truck, and for me it was like a heavy, heavy moment, because I was technically responsible for the loss of my team, and then I gave the speech about my brother dying, which didn't go in the show. And like you said, and I've talked to many people, you almost like black out. You're more aware than you've ever been.
Yeah.
But it's like a blackout when you think back to it.
Yeah.
And I have this vivid stained memory of them being like, yo, you got to get out of the city. And they're walking me out, and you ran up to me and you're like, hey, dude, I can't remember the words you said to me, but I remember you ran and you grabbed me and you gave me a hug, and it meant the world.
I was proud of you. That's what I told you.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, just for you at your age to step up and to be brave, not only to be the kind of the captain on the dead hang, but to share what you shared. Because you shared what you shared, and then Eric shared what he shared, and then I lost it. Like, I remember the trailer came out, and all my friends were like, why are you crying in this? I'm like, no, like, you don't understand what happened. It was a very moving moment, you know. And so I wanted you to know how proud of you I was. I know it didn't end the way you wanted it to, but it was. I just don't think I could have stepped up like you did when I was your age.
Wow, that means the world. And you know, that moment didn't end the way I wanted it to, but I think that God had a plan for you and Gage, and I think everything happened exactly how it was
I
meant to
know
be.
it true. I mean, like I know when you asked it earlier, like, did I earn this? Yeah, I mean, I earned the opportunity to be put in situations where I think the light could guide me.
Mm,
Um, Especially in episode 10. Like I was, there was something bigger with me
yeah.
for sure. So, but yeah, I'm so blessed to have earned it the way I did.
Yeah, and I think the divine aspect of her not even getting a chance to go, and I'm reading into it, but it's like you had a mission. You were already trying to find this rare disease cure before you had the money. And I think that something I believe in and in the Bible is God sees our intentions before. Your intentions were always to find a cure. You were already walking on that road, and I feel like God sees your heart and he equips you.
Yeah, and I like, and when you talk about intentions, that kind of resonates because like I kind of a close cousin of intentions is desire.
Yeah.
So for me, everything starts with desire.
Mm.
So my desire going into the games was I desire to earn the 5 million so that I can share it. And by sharing it, I mean so I can share it to fund research, so I can share it to help Lucas at home, versus I don't desire to receive it so I can keep it for myself. It's more of how can I put it to use for Lucas and people like Lucas, or put it to use for Lucas so Jack doesn't have to care for Lucas when mom and dad are no longer here.
Mm.
So my desire, my intention was more of a sharing act than it was I want this. I want this for me.
Okay, you said something to me off camera that was kind of along the lines of this, and then I said I wanted to share something with you, and I'm gonna share this with you in hopes that it sparks what you said to me off camera, which was, um, anyone who's a believer in God in any aspect knows that God is worthy of praise because essentially, like let's say a painter creates a painting, and the painting's super good. What you do then is you praise the artist because of their creation. And we see this across YouTube, like we praise MrBeast because his videos are so good.
Yeah.
So the creation speaks of the creator, and naturally, if God created everything, then he is naturally the most worthy of praise by creating everything. But something that I realized after the show is that is not how worthy God of his praise, but how equipped he is. And what I mean by that is that when a human gets praised, because like, I had my moment where I'm hanging and I'm getting all these texts from friends, and like the thing in my mind is like, well, okay, I never want to come off egotistical.
Yeah.
I want to be humble. I want to like make these people feel seen when they reach out to me, like being, oh, that guy was on the Beast games. And that's the thing I think about God is like when you praise God and when you glorify him and worship him, he then returns your praise by like blessing you. In that way, he's so equipped because he takes the praise. He doesn't, I mean, he's God, but he's not like prideful, egotistical. He returns blessing. And something like, I try to reflect that too. Like if I'm getting praise, I try to take it and give back joy and give back love. But even sometimes in that process, I get anxious or I get like paranoid. How are people going to think of me? And then you had said something in response. You had said, there's like wanting for me, and then there's wanting to give back. Because I was talking about how it felt wrong to like want to be seen or glorified. And do you remember what you said to me?
Yes, I mean it's like one of the kind of the principles I live by is like we all have the desire to receive.
Yeah.
Just as an apple tree has a desire to receive sunlight and rain. But guess what? An apple tree doesn't eat its own apples. It shares them.
Mm.
So it's like it's okay to desire everything. It's what do you do with it? How do you share it? Because so that's something I think is like so important. Is like it's wanting everything, like wanting more income, wanting a great relationship, wanting to have children. I think those are things that you should never be ashamed to want them. But it's like, why do you want it? Do you want it for yourself alone? Do you want it just so you can have and keep, or do you want it so you can share something bigger? And to your point, like when you share, you're more akin to God. And the more you're akin to God, the more blessings you get.
Mm.
Like that's at least that's been my experience. Like, and again, like Lucas has taught me so much about my relationship with God and just with faith that I just see it in my life. So this isn't just, hey, I read this and like this sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's like I've been experiencing it for the last probably 5 years, or even more. And it's just the more I share, the more and that it could be time, it could be my heart, it could be my feelings, it could be a check, whatever it may be. The more I share, the more blessings come to me.
Mm.
It's not why I do it. It's just a nice little after effect.
Yeah, it's true. It's the classic in the Bible. They ask Jesus, "Who's the greatest?" Whoever serves the most is the greatest. Whoever gives the most is the most blessed. It is just the truth.
And it's counterintuitive. I mean, like, especially we have our ego and we have all this, like, we get scared. Is this enough? Is this, don't get me wrong. All these things came in my mind. Literally, I got wired all the money and I think, oh my gosh, like, how do I make this last? Where does it go? What should I do with it? Oh my, like, so it's not like, but it's just.
What is the most stressful thing about having the money or the wire?
How do I put it to good use?
It's like with great responsibility.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, I mean it's it's how do I be a good steward of it?
Mm.
I mean literally I declared to the world that, hey, I want to help cure a rare disease. Okay, guess what? That's what I have to do now. Like this is now, and by the way, to your point, I was already doing this just on a much smaller scale. But also like how do I do that while still making sure my family's okay? While still being present with my family. So it's
continue.
Yeah, you got it.
I was gonna say, do you have any fear in like being in public now? Like that 80 million people saw the show, walking around. I mean, I'm sure you're still in that phase where it's like cool, where people ask you for photos, but how do you view like going out in the public now?
Yeah, everything's fine so far. I mean, on the plane right here, a couple people said hi, but it's cordial. It's like, hey, Jeff, congrats, great game. Nothing too crazy. And we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Jeff, I think we've talked a lot about the show, about God, but people want to know who you are, and they definitely know that your story with your son, but like let's start with like where did you grow up? What was life like before growing up when you're my age in Ohio? Like take me through a little bit of your life story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Ohio, and I mean in my mind I grew up at the perfect time. So I grew up I was born in the early 80s, and so when I was in 6th grade, there was no cell phones. There was no internet. Like, you would leave on your bike in the morning and tell mom you'd be home by dinner. And they had no idea how to get you and find you. So it was just like, it was an awesome rearing, and kind of where we lived, it was, you don't lock your doors at night. Like, your neighbors look out for you. So I had an awesome rearing. I have 4 older sisters too. We had a close family, a big family, just kind of a nice middle-class family. And had some awesome friends. Like I've been blessed with great friends since the get. One of my first best friends, his name's Ryan, was one of my biggest. I met him when I was 6.
Yeah.
He was my biggest fan, texting me after every episode of Beast Games. So it's like I've been blessed with great friends, and I think Ohio people just, I'm biased, but like concentrate on what matters, which is like family, community, the simple things. So growing up in Ohio was awesome. Went to college, went to high school there, went to college there. I played football in college. And then jumped around. I lived in Pennsylvania for a little bit. I lived in Kentucky, back to Ohio, then moved to California about 15 years ago.
And what brought you to California?
Work at the time.
Wow. Have you learned anything from having 4 older sisters?
Yeah, I think communicating with women is not an easy task for a male, and I think learning about women through my mom and my sisters has been kind of a blessing. Also, like just compassion. Like I think naturally they are more compassionate and just to be more empathetic versus like a lot of the times I still do it is like try to solve things versus trying to be with somebody. But yeah, my sisters are awesome. Like still great friends with them all.
Hmm. Were they aware that you won before you won?
No,
And so what was I actually was with you at the finale and you said you didn't even tell your mom. Is that correct?
didn't tell my mom.
What is it like the day of the finale when your family
They went
finds
crazy. I
out?
mean, there's an awesome TikTok that shows the reactions for like 20 people in my family watched it together. Then another sister and her husband watched it together. A nephew watched it by himself. And I mean, they went nuts. And again, I think this is like the most people, like people are like, how did you not tell them? Like, that's the reason why. Like, who am I to rob that from them? And it's when you see these, like everything that I experienced, they experienced it too. Like very similar way, because it goes back to love. They wanted that for me and for Lucas. So they were so invested. So it was when I just had to force them. I kind of convinced them that I got eliminated a couple times.
Hmm.
Like they definitely thought I got eliminated in episode 9 because of kind of what I said to them.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey, it's episode 10. It's MrBeast. Everybody's gonna be a winner. I would just watch it early so that you don't get spoiled on how my journey ends.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they watched it at 7 a.m. and went crazy.
Dude, I so resonate with that concept you just said. I used to be really into magic. Like David Blaine is a hero of mine, and
Have you interviewed him?
I wish.
Dude, he is like I've watched so many of his videos.
You gotta put a shout out. Maybe if you
David
say
Blaine,
yeah,
please.
come on the show.
Yes.
We'll connect you with Jeff if you come on. But there's always that cliche phrase, magicians don't share their secrets. And I'm telling you, if I'd won the show, I would have been just like you. I didn't even want my mom to know I went to Panama, but because she was my emergency contact, she got the text.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anyone anything because what happens when you tell someone is they have like this little moment where they feel excited that you included them. They're like, "Oh, you told me early. I'm like one of your good friends." But then all the wonder, that wonder, which is one of my favorite emotions, that like awe and mysterious excitement and joy, is just gone. And then they're an insider, but they don't get a share in the wonder. And I mean, in your situation, it's a little different because they'd probably freak out knowing you won millions of dollars. But it's like by keeping them on the loose, months, the whole season, they're experiencing that wonder. Oh my, Jeff made it to the next episode. He made it to the next episode. And then they win with you.
Yeah, totally. And I think when you conceal light, and again, like this is a big boost of light, meaning $10 million that can really help
Yeah.
people like Lucas. When you conceal that light, it becomes more powerful. It's like I'm a big fan of the power of concealment or the power of discernment, meaning like in my old age, I mean, when I was your age, I was not as wise as you were. I was like, I could not keep a secret. I was like, okay, someone tells me so, oh, I got to tell somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, but now at this age, it's like, man, there's so much power in keeping something concealed if there's light in it.
Mm.
And so yeah, it was hard. I wanted to tell my mom so bad, like so bad.
What how do you think you learned that lesson of concealment?
That's a great question. Yeah,
Was there like a situation where you overshared or just kind of realized over time?
yeah, I mean, I used to drink alcohol. I've been sober for
Yeah.
9 years, and I mean, it was one of those things where like I didn't drink a ton, but when I drank, I had enough where I didn't always remember what happened.
Mm.
And I remember like waking up in the morning, kind of going, "Gosh, who did I tell the truth to that I didn't want to, and who did I tell lies to?" And it was one of those things where like the moment like I stopped drinking, I felt like I started telling the truth more. And when it comes to concealment, like meaning like things I'm concealing, it's, hey, it's important maybe for me or for whoever else I'm talking to that this isn't overly shared. And so for me, I look at it as, hey, this is my responsibility to respect them.
Yeah.
And so like for me, like I remember talking to Klitz when it was the final six. And he kind of told us, he goes, hey, you guys are in the final six. Like, your life's going to change. Guess what? One of you will win. You know, before he, remember, he used to always say, he's like, one of you will win. And believe it or not, think about all you've went through to get here. Like how exciting it was, how much fun you've had. People who are watching on TV will have those same feelings. It is not, I don't think he said it this way, but in essence, he was saying it is selfish to go home and tell people and rob them from that experience. You know, and that kind of like hit me like, oh my gosh, totally. But I think the same thing goes with just keeping a secret. It's like, I'm a big fan of, hey, you tell me something that's important to you. It's your story to tell, unless you want me to share it.
It's the easiest way to build respect is to listen to people and not spread their word. Like it's just to be that safe place to someone. I think it's gone so far for me, and I can just think of so many times where like I've slipped things, and it's the worst feeling to tell someone.
Yeah, and I'm not the best. I mean, I'm not perfect at it by any means, but it's like, yeah, if I have an opportunity to keep my word, it's like, man, like it's kind of like back, you know, you look at the $1 million bribe with Jeremy. Like when he gave his word to our team, I literally looked at everybody. I walked down the aisle. I'm like, dude, you have nothing to worry about. It's Jeremy. If he says he's going to do something, it's going to be done. And I think the same thing goes with a secret. Then it goes back to my definition of love is like, if you tell me something that's important to you and you want to keep it secret, I'm not loving you if I don't keep it secret.
Yeah.
So it's
selfish.
But it's the ultimate. You got to keep practicing at it. Like, it's not like,
You said another shocking story along the lines, which is that your 9-year-old son, right, 9?
Yeah.
Was there for the win. And MrBeast is 100 times cooler to him than he is to you. And he's a kid.
Well, and MrBeast is 100 times cooler to him than I am to him.
And he's surrounded by kids, and everyone at that age wants to be the coolest kid. And he could have been the coolest kid by telling everyone that you won, but he didn't. How do you think he was able to do that?
I mean, it's funny because I'll ask him, and he's like, you know, keeping a secret wasn't that hard. He goes, gosh, how did he word it? Like he's like, keep it a secret that I met MrBeast wasn't that hard, but keep it a secret that you won was harder. Like something that degree, which I thought it would have been the other way. But the fact that like he literally hung out with MrBeast, he hung out with Mac, he hung out with Carl, all the people that he introduced me to by introducing me to MrBeast the year before. And he kept it a secret. And, you know, we talked about it, obviously. Like when we go to bed at night and we say prayers, like, hey, this is really important. Like, we're not going to tell anybody. It's a miracle. It's like I think that is more impressive than anything I did in the games. So I think he's a righteous boy who wants to do good. And like, I think this is a life lesson for me to see if he can keep that secret for 5 months. Again, it's one thing to say, hey, my dad won. It's another thing to say, hey, I met MrBeast. Or you watch the second episode, oh, the city, I was there. Like, he didn't. I don't know how. I really don't know how he did it.
And go to like loop this all, when you think about your definition of love, to want for someone what they want for themselves, it almost is like a love story of him to you.
Oh yeah, it's really, really cool because I mean when you have a son with a rare disease, it's easy for a parent to kind of go, that's where all my focus is. And the other children can get neglected or kind of overseen.
Thank you for watching the episode. Please consider subscribing if you're enjoying the episode. If you subscribe, then I will get to invest in better guests like Gage, and I'll get to improve the show, improve the cameras, the quality, and make a better product for you. So please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you. One of my favorite moments on the show was being on the island with you and just running into you and Matt sitting I joined that conversation, and it was started off with Matt's art, and you were listening so intently to him, and it just became this deep God discussion from three different religious viewpoints. And it was just like one of the most beautiful conversations I've ever had.
Yeah.
And since then, I mean, I feel like I connect to you in the sense that you like to talk about the deeper things of the world. So that's what I'm trying to show
No, me too.
on the podcast.
And that was awesome. So that's Matt Dallin 494. And I didn't realize how good of an artist he was. Like, I mean, like, I remember when I first saw his Instagram and knew he was a contestant before I saw him. And I'm like, wait, that's him? Like that, like this young guy, he's just super talented. And I could paint that conversation where we were sitting on the porch in Panama. It was great, man.
Dude, I can paint that conversation because it was the first time I got close to you, which I knew you, and this trips me out every time I think about it. I knew you in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I've told this story a bunch of times that we were on the pink team and there was these two like really jacked tattoo guys and they kind of assumed the role of leader, which we didn't need a leader, but everyone always thought we needed a leader. And then they were kind of getting wild and Patrick probably was the one who started this, like, okay, we need new leaders. And it was you and John. And I remember talking to Jeremy, which is so funny. We're all here. And Jeremy was like, I was trying to get the difference between you and John down, which you look so different now, but you know, at the time you meet so many people.
Yeah, we have the same color hair.
You have the same color hair. And Jeremy would just tell me, Jeff is John, but more attractive. No, if you're watching this, we love you. But that was just...
Well, especially coming from Jeremy, it's hysterical.
It's just so funny because me, Jeremy, Jeff, Patrick, Pink Team, knew each other in Las Vegas.
It's crazy.
2,000 people all in the top 60. And you're like... I remember when we went to the island, the amount of people who said, I'm the last one in my alliance. I don't know anyone going to the island. And I'm like, dude, I know like 6 or 7 people from Vegas going to the island.
It's weird, and like it's funny because I can I can pinpoint like with Jeremy, like we kind of talked to each other, but remember like Jeremy in Vegas was a little bit like
he way more reserved.
I'm doing my own thing, like I'm here to play the game, but not like he wasn't strategizing, wasn't worrying about anything. But I remember during the flags where we were both kind of walking back, and like then we realized we need to help each other. And we see each other helping people. And we kind of like walk by each other like, okay, I see what you're doing. Oh, I see what you're doing. And that's when him and I kind of go, okay, I can work with you. Like I see that you want to help others. You want to do the right thing. And after that is when I'm like, oh, dude, I just found a friend. Like I found a really, really good friend. And again, I was already friends with 930 Patrick, 711 Brennan, 460 Cody, Blakely, Annie, the whole group, Justin. But like when I remember, like Jeremy was the first kind of outside the alliance because he was kind of an independent guy. Like the flags is when I felt that.
Yeah, and that flag game was monumental for me too because I wanted to run first. Jeremy told me, don't run first because this is when all the egotistical people, and I ignored Jeremy. I was like, I'm still going to run first. But then they only put out 6 flags, and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm top 6 out of 2,000 fast. So I backed up, and Jeremy took me to the side, and he said, look, you're a young 23-year-old male. You're going to get a flag. Let's help people.
Yeah.
And I stayed and helped people until the 400s, and then I got anxious that I wasn't going to make it, even though there was so much time, and I ran. And in the row elimination game, 3 of the first 4 rows got eliminated. So essentially, because I stayed to help Jeremy is why I even got to go in the game. But I remember thinking about Jeremy being like, dude, he really stayed to the end and he really wanted to help people. And I kind of had this limit where I wanted to help people, but my selfish desires kind of peaked and it met at 435. And that's when I went and I told Jeremy because a lot of people thought that our numbers were going to become teams. And he was like, well, there's going to be more athletic people in the 400s and the 500s. And I told Jeremy, I was like, dude, I wish I was a 900 or an 800. I feel like there's something special about those people who wait, because a lot of the people in those rows were there because they waited to help others.
And this is what most people who watch episode 1 don't realize, is that, oh, it's total chance. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of chance. That was also who was in your row. So the deeper you go in the game, you either have the helpers, or you have the ones who are nervous or scared to go and probably are a little bit more altruistic. So if you look at the first row to go, it was Jeremy's row. It didn't show in the video, but his was the first, which is the 900s to 1,000. I think I was third. I was in the 800s.
I was second in the 400s.
Yeah, so it's like, but like, yeah, it was the first 2 rows and the 4th row got eliminated.
Yeah.
And it's like, they probably didn't have a ton of, they had some helpers, but it's weird. Like Chris 204 got lucky. He was in that 3rd row.
Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. And now, I mean, you think about divine things, meeting Jeremy in Las Vegas. You guys are about to ruck across California. And I also thinking about how you said, you know, you do have $10 million, but you're trying to solve diseases. What is the goal of this ruck? And can you elaborate on the ruck? Because a lot of people are probably going to watch this and they're going to want to know what you're doing with this ruck. You've briefly mentioned you're walking across California, but elaborate on what this is.
Yeah, so a ruck is walking while carrying weight. So Jeremy and I are rucking from Death Valley, from the Nevada border in the desert, all the way to the California coast. It's 365 miles. That kind of represents the 365 miles that Lucas has to carry this disease with him every year. So Jeremy and I are going to carry the weight of Lucas. Lucas weighs just over 50 pounds. So between us, we're always going to carry the weight of Lucas. And the whole purpose of this is to, you know, it's not like, hey, I just won $10 million and, you know, I'm off drinking Mai Tais in Fiji with my family. This is just the beginning of trying to find a cure or a treatment for our son. You know, and a lot of people ask, what's the difference between a cure and a treatment? They're kind of used synonymously. A cure means it's never going to happen again. A treatment means, hey, we can provide something that is going to alleviate or mitigate or assist. The first path in the journey for Lucas is a treatment. And having a treatment means you have to discover it. You have to have researchers figure it out, and then they have to test it. Then it has to be good enough to kind of put through a clinical trial, and the clinical trial can cost tens of millions of dollars. So first we got to fund the research, but also we need to start kind of funding the path to a clinical trial. The beautiful thing is I can't tell you how many people, like the fact that people actually know what CTD is now is unbelievable. Like when Lucas was first diagnosed, his pediatrician had never heard of it. His geneticist had never heard of it, had never treated a patient. She had to call another geneticist who she's friends with, who's like the master at it, to kind of go, hey, what should I do? Because it's just such an ultra rare disease. So the fact that people actually are aware of it and know about it is like, it means the world to me, you know, and our families don't feel like we're alone. I've been blessed to have an awesome association, the Association for Creatine Deficiencies. I'm a volunteer board member, so I work a lot with them. But there's a lot of families all over the world who've reached out to me who said, I've never heard anybody talk about CTD except my doctor. I thought I was the only one, a family in Argentina, another family in Germany. And so for me, it's like the fact that their voice is being heard is like huge. And this ruck is to kind of go, hey, we're going to continue to echo what CTD is, to draw awareness to it, but also to raise additional funds. Like my goal is to be the leader in kind of in funding research, but I can't do it alone. And I think what's crazy to me is, like, in my mind, I thought I'd get all these direct messages, hey, you got your money and go do it on your own. So many people kind of go, how can I help? How can I support you? And again, whether it's $1 or $3.65 for every kind of mile we're going to run or walk, or $10, or somebody who's done extremely well wants to donate 1,000 or more, like, it all will help us ultimately get to a treatment. So I think one of the craziest things that I've learned, it goes back to what we were talking about sharing, is if people have the desire to share and you don't receive it or don't allow them to share it, you're removing light from them. Like you're removing light from the situation. So I think about this a lot where people are like, oh no, I don't need any help. Oh no, I don't do this. And I've realized later in life that like I'm robbing them from, what I think is the biggest thing you can do in life. The most akin thing you can do to the Creator is to share. So if someone wants to share with you and you don't allow them to do it, you're restricting the light of God to come out. So for me, there's so many people who have reached out who want to help. And so this is kind of going, hey, I'm going to lead the charge, but if you want to support and you want to share, again, even if it's just spreading the word to a pediatrician or donating dollars, man, it all helps and it all means a ton.
This year just being a very amazing year, but very hard financial year. And so many people have bought me food, let me stay at their house, helped me out with the podcast. And there's this like pride of not wanting to be helped, especially when you drop out of school. And like when I dropped out of school, at first my parents weren't supportive, but it wasn't because they weren't supportive, it was because they were logical.
Yeah.
And they just want what's best. And you have this pride of like, I want to prove people wrong. And but so many people have helped me this year. It's just mind blowing. And along the lines of what you were saying, someone told me this, and it's just now what I always say is like, if someone wants to buy me something, I just say, I won't take away the gift of giving.
Dude, and it's so real. I mean, I didn't really realize this until the last couple of years. And the fact that but like the ultimate act of being like the Creator is sharing. And if you don't allow someone to do that, who wants to do it, you're robbing them from being akin to the Creator.
And I mean, when I think about all people have given me this year, it just fires me up to give back when the time comes. I'm just like, God. And I've been reading this psychology book, and one of the strongest principles in influence is reciprocity. When you give, when you get, you naturally feel like you have to give. And when you give, hopefully you don't do it with an expectation, but this is just built in from childhood. And I have so much like of overfill of how much people have given to me that it just makes me want to live my life in a sacrificial giving way. And so the more you give, the more you will make the world of givers. And it's just...
And guess what? The more you receive, the more you'll have to share. So I think that's one of the, like, awakening that desire to receive allows you to share more. Especially if you got a righteous heart, especially if you want to do good. So who are you to not have everything? Because if you have everything, Auzi, like, you can share even more.
You can't give what you don't have.
True.
And that's...
And you can't keep what you don't earn.
Well, wait, hold on. Explain that one. You can't keep what you don't earn. Why? Elaborate on that.
Meaning, like, whether this is probably going back to the lottery. Like, people who, like, if blessings that you don't earn, I don't think you keep. And by the way, I think you can earn it after you receive it, or you can earn it before. So sometimes you get this windfall or something great happens to you. Well, how do you earn that afterward? Is it through prayer and thanks? Is it through doing good work? But like, I truly believe that you can't keep what you don't earn.
There's literally a proverb that says, in the more modern translation, it says, wealth from get-rich-quick schemes disappears fast. And I'll put it up here just to make sure I'm quoting it right, but it's kind of that idea, like, a lot of lottery winners have never had money like that, or they've never worked their way up, so many of them aren't equipped to own it and to be smart with it.
And afterward, that you can earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think afterward, like, I mean, again, like, I might have earned the 10 million, but not all the way through. Like, I have to continue to earn it right now. I have to earn that blessing, which means I need to restrict my desires to go buy a boat or do something fancy or spend frivolously. Like, I need to be a good steward of this money. So I can earn it in arrears, and also I can earn it before.
Yeah, and I think about that too with my podcast. Like, it's 2 years of the podcast. I'm about to get my second YouTube check, which is about $100.
Sweet.
And it's 6 years of YouTube. So I'm 6 years into YouTube and I've made about $200. And I'd heard a while ago, and I don't think this phrase is 100% true, but the quote, fast success builds ego, slow success builds character. And I just, I'm so grateful. I think about MrBeast. MrBeast took 4 years to get 1,000 subscribers.
It's crazy.
4 years to get 1,000. He has 300 million now. It took me 5 years to get 1,000, which means I'm gonna have 500 million.
Yes, exactly.
No.
Wait, but that is so crazy to think like that. MrBeast took 4 years. Like, and he just never gave up.
Yeah, and you learn so much from losing. Like, I have so much insight to give other YouTubers, but some of them are willing to receive my insight because they're humble, but some of them will be like, "Oh, you only have a couple thousand followers. What am I going to take from you?" And I'm like, "But you don't know how much I failed."
Yeah.
And so that is a beautiful thing. Before we end this, let's just go over a quick shot of your favorite moments on the show.
I loved episode 2, 4 no star. I loved the fact that we thought we were going to lose, and I saw how people responded, and it was awesome to see some people really step up and be there for each other. And I saw some people who kind of go, "Wow, I didn't expect your character." I love how we prayed for our team, and then we lost, and guess what? Jeremy led prayer for their team. So that was awesome. Hate to say it, but episode 6, Monster Truck was awesome. The island was way too fun.
So fun.
I mean, it was just so good to like get to know everybody, like great people. But I'd say overall, kind of like the friendships I forged, and this is where people don't get when they watch it on the show, like are real. Like literally have friends for life from this. I did not expect it. I was not looking for new friends. I'm in my 40s. I have a family. I have great friends. I wasn't looking to add new friends to it, but man, I'm glad I did. Like that was the biggest surprise and biggest takeaway for me, was how strong these friendships are and how real these people are.
Something I wanted to ask you earlier, I just remembered. If I were to win $10 million and win the show, one thing I would be thinking about is every new friend, every person who reaches out, more so new friends, but people reach out, I'd be thinking, do they just like me because I won the show and I made $10 million? Is that something that goes through your head or no?
Yeah. I mean, of course, because it's real. Like you can't take that out of the variable. Like even probably people who I've known for a long time might treat me a little different because they're like, "Hey, I don't want to be respectful of his time," or I want to do like, so I mean, I'm aware of it, but it's just a matter of using discernment and having good people around you. And I mean, again, it's not like I'm anything special.
Yeah.
I won, don't get me wrong. I mean, Beast Games season 1 is awesome. Winning $10 million is awesome. But yeah, I just think this is a good lesson in life, is just having discernment of, do people want your best or do people want from you?
I can't even wait. We got to do a podcast in like a year after it's all settled and you've raised them. Oh, well, I mean, not like you're not going to solve the mission in a year, or maybe you will. Who knows? I'm not going to put limits, but I can't wait to talk to you again in like a year and see what life was like after a year of this change and the things you pick up on and the little nuances. And yeah, it's going to be exciting. This episode is about to end, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching. This Beast Games podcast series changed my life. It revitalized my channel. I have guests coming on frequently and people wanting to come on the show. But what I need from you is to know who you want to see. Tag someone who is unrelated to MrBeast or can be related. Maybe it's Jimmy or Chandler. Tag them below, and we'll try to get them on the podcast. Thank you guys for watching so much. Please consider subscribing and consider watching my other content that doesn't have anything to do with Beast Games. The mission behind this podcast is to change the way people measure success from wealth metrics, money, possessions, achievements, and status to soul wealth metrics, relationships, and memories. So if that's something you want to work on and you want to work on it while hearing some incredible conversations with some of the most wonderful people around the world, then stick around on this channel. But regardless, wherever you go, I love you and I thank you for watching. Please enjoy the last 20 seconds of this episode. Jeff, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and just showing who you are, getting deep with me. Even on the show, you were kind of like a dad. I remember asking you about marriage, about kids, and you're someone I respect. You're well-versed. You've read the Old Testament, talk about the Bible. You're humble. I wouldn't want anyone else to win. I'm freaking stoked you win. And again, just like, for me, that insecurity of like, from my past of feeling, when someone wins or they're become too cool, and you've just like reassured me and made me feel loved and special and important. And dude, you're the best. Tell people where they can find you, where they should watch the Ruck, and anything else you want to leave with the audience, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I think you hit on a couple of things. One, have a family. Like I just think if you find a great partner, love them and have kids. There's nothing like the joy of my life is being a father to Jack and Lucas. And I'm blessed to have a great wife. 2, follow me on Instagram, legacy.a31, and you can follow the Ruck on YouTube at legacy831official. I might start posting on X, and I still, believe it or not, have a weird following on LinkedIn that I gotta keep throwing some bones at from all my my corporate world stuff. But like you said, my journey is just beginning. And I'd love for you guys to be a part of it.
Yeah. Let's solve. This man's gonna break through rare diseases, Jeff.
Awesome.
We end every episode with hugs.
Love you, buddies.
Oh, thank you very much.
For sure.
Appreciate you. All right. We are wrapped.